Imagine this: a brand new aircraft, the latest marvel of engineering, takes to the skies. Sleek. Powerful. A symbol of progress. Then, a sudden, tragic descent. Lives lost. Families shattered. An isolated incident? Perhaps. But what if it happened again? Another brand new plane. Another sudden plunge. Identical. Unsettling. This wasn't a freak accident. This wasn't random chance. Something was profoundly wrong. Something hidden deep within the circuits and the corporate boardrooms. Tonight, we unravel the mystery. We count down the real reasons Boeing's new plane crashed not once, but twice. And the truth? It's more complex, and far more disturbing, than you could ever imagine. Two separate flights. Lion Air Flight 610 in October 2018. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 in March 2019. Just 5 months apart. Both Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. Both plunged from the sky shortly after takeoff, killing everyone on board. The world watched in horror. How could this happen? With modern aviation technology, such tragedies are rare. To have them replicate with such chilling precision? It defied explanation. Or so it seemed. Investigators immediately honed in on what could connect these two catastrophic events. The aircraft itself. But not just the metal and wiring. Something else. Something less tangible. The plane in question, the Boeing 737 MAX. An updated version of a workhorse aircraft, the 737. It looked similar. It was marketed as requiring minimal extra pilot training. A seamless transition for airlines and pilots. This promise, however, would become a crucial, deadly detail. What if the new wasn't truly new enough, or perhaps, too new in ways that mattered most? The expectation was continuity. The reality? A radical departure in underlying systems that would fundamentally alter how the aircraft behaved, and how pilots needed to understand it. A silent, unseen shift. Coming in at number 5, we uncover the relentless market pressure. Boeing found itself locked in a fierce battle. Airbus, its primary rival, had just launched the highly successful A320neo, a fuel-efficient, next-generation single-aisle jet. Airlines were clamoring for it. Boeing needed an answer, and fast. This wasn't just about market share, it was about the future of the company's most profitable division. The pressure was immense. Not just to build a new plane, but to build it quickly, and to make it incredibly appealing to an eager market. Speed became paramount. What corners might be cut in such a frantic race? This intense market pressure translated directly into rushed development. The time frame for creating the 737 MAX was aggressive. Boeing wanted to get the plane into the hands of airlines as quickly as possible to avoid losing ground to Airbus. New aircraft development is typically a painstaking, multi-year process, involving exhaustive testing and revisions. But this wasn't a completely new design, it was an evolution. Or was it? The desire to fast-track the MAX meant that decisions were made under extreme urgency. Did this expedited timeline compromise the meticulous attention to detail that aviation safety demands? Our number 4 reason: cost minimization. In the competitive aerospace market, every penny counts. Boeing, under significant market pressure, made crucial design and operational choices driven by the bottom line. Minimizing costs wasn't just about maximizing profit, it was also about making the 737 MAX an attractive option for airlines. Lower operating costs, less capital outlay. But at what expense? Were the decisions to simplify certain aspects or integrate technology in specific ways entirely about efficiency, or did they inadvertently introduce unseen vulnerabilities? The pursuit of economic advantage cast a long shadow. Stemming directly from cost minimization was inadequate pilot training. Boeing wanted to market the 737 MAX as requiring minimal additional pilot training compared to its predecessors. This was a huge selling point for airlines, saving them millions in training costs and downtime. But to achieve this, certain new systems, like the MCAS, were either downplayed or not fully disclosed in pilot manuals and training programs. Pilots were not adequately trained on its existence or its potential behavior. It was a calculated risk, betting on simplicity, but it left the very people flying the plane in the dark about a critical new technology. Our third reason delves into the regulatory realm: FAA delegation. The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, is meant to be the ultimate arbiter of air safety. Yet, for decades, the FAA had a policy of delegating significant aspects of certification to the manufacturers themselves. Boeing engineers, rather than independent FAA officials, were often responsible for reviewing and approving crucial safety systems. This practice was intended to streamline the certification process, leveraging industry expertise. But did it create a conflict of interest? Was the watchdog effectively allowing the fox to guard the henhouse? This FAA delegation meant a significant part of certification oversight flaw was baked into the system. When Boeing was under immense pressure to compete with Airbus and minimize costs, the very engineers developing the plane were also the ones signing off on its safety. Was there sufficient independent scrutiny? Did the FAA have the resources or the willingness to challenge Boeing's assertions, particularly when dealing with complex new software systems? This inherent trust, while perhaps well-intentioned, became a critical vulnerability. The lines between regulator and regulated blurred. A system designed for safety inadvertently created a blind spot. Now, for our number 2 reason: MCAS system introduction. Deep within the 737 MAX, there was a new software system. Boeing called it the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS. This system was designed to subtly improve the aircraft's handling characteristics, making the MAX feel more like previous 737 models, especially at certain angles of attack. It was meant to be a background assistant, almost imperceptible. A silent guardian, ensuring predictable flight. But for such a vital system, operating in the background, a question looms: why was its existence so carefully guarded? What could an augmentation system really do? The MCAS purpose was specific: to automatically push the nose down. If the system detected that the aircraft was approaching a stall, a dangerous condition where the wings lose lift, its MCAS would activate. It would automatically lower the nose to increase airspeed and prevent the stall. This was a critical safety feature in theory, designed to protect the aircraft. But its automatic and powerful nature meant it bypassed direct pilot input. An unseen algorithm making life or death decisions. What if this automated guardian received incorrect information? What if it became not a protector, but a relentless, uncommanded force? Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the MCAS pilot ignorance was how little pilots knew. As part of Boeing's cost-saving efforts and its desire to minimize retraining, pilots were not adequately trained on the MCAS system. Many didn't even know it existed. It wasn't extensively detailed in their flight manuals. Imagine flying a complex machine with a powerful, automated system that could independently take control, yet you, the pilot, were completely unaware of its presence or how to override it. This knowledge gap was immense. When MCAS activated in error, pilots were left fighting a ghost in the machine, without the training or information to understand what was happening. And now, the number 1 reason: the immediate trigger, the faulty AOA sensor. In both tragic crashes, a single angle of attack sensor provided incorrect data to the MCAS system. The AOA sensor measures the angle between the wing and the oncoming air, crucial for determining if a stall is imminent. But a malfunctioning sensor, sending false readings, told the MCAS that the plane's nose was too high and a stall was approaching, when it wasn't. A single, small piece of hardware. Giving a false signal. A lie, whispered into the ears of an automated system that was programmed to act decisively, based on that input. A catastrophic error at the source. What compounded the problem of the faulty AOA sensor was the single sensor reliance of the MCOS. The maneuvering characteristics augmentation system was designed to take input from only one angle of attack sensor at a time. This is a critical design choice. If that one sensor failed, or provided erroneous data, the MCOS system had no way to cross-reference it with another source. It simply trusted the single, compromised input. A powerful, autonomous system, making critical flight decisions, relying on a single point of failure. It was a gamble on hardware reliability that cost hundreds of lives. Why only one? The plane had two. The tragic irony was the redundancy failure in the system. The Boeing 737 MAX actually had two angle of attack sensors. But the MCOS system, the very software designed to protect the plane, was programmed to only use one. It didn't compare the readings from both sensors. It didn't check for discrepancies. If one sensor gave a wildly different reading from the other, the system was blind to it. This lack of a critical safety check, of comparing redundant data sources, created a fatal vulnerability. It allowed a single, malfunctioning component to trigger a catastrophic chain of events, unchecked and unchallenged by any other system. So, the real reason wasn't one single fault. It was in systemic failure interlock, a cascade of catastrophic factors. The immense market pressure and rushed development led to cost minimization, which in turn encouraged inadequate pilot training and the concealment of the MCOS system. This hidden system, with its MCOS purpose to push the nose down, had a critical flaw: single sensor reliance on a faulty AOA sensor, exacerbated by the redundancy failure. All of this enabled by lax FAA delegation and certification oversight flaw. A deadly chain. Each link, weak on its own, became lethal when combined. Imagine those final, terrifying moments in the cockpit. Pilots, highly trained and experienced, battling an aircraft that seemed to have a mind of its own. Receiving conflicting warnings. Struggling against an automated system they didn't even know existed, let alone how to counteract. The human impact of these crashes is immeasurable. 346 lives lost. Families devastated. A profound betrayal of trust in a system designed to be the safest mode of transport. The human element, caught in the crosshairs of technical failure and corporate decisions, ultimately bore the gravest consequences. A silent scream heard across continents. In the immediate aftermath of the second crash, the global aviation community reacted swiftly. The Boeing 737 MAX was grounded worldwide, an unprecedented move. Boeing then implemented a software patch to address the MCOS issue. This update ensured the MCOS system would now take input from both angle of attack sensors, comparing them for discrepancies. If a significant difference was detected, MCOS would be disabled. The update also limited how many times MCOS could activate and how much force it could apply. A crucial step, but one that came only after immense loss. A fix, but at what cost to trust and reputation? The incidents forced a profound reckoning within the aviation industry. A hard industry accountability was demanded from all sides. Boeing faced intense scrutiny, massive financial penalties, and a severe blow to its reputation. The FAA also came under fire for its oversight practices, leading to reforms in how aircraft are certified. The tragic crashes of the 737 MAX became a stark reminder: cutting corners, rushing development, and neglecting pilot knowledge in favor of profit can have devastating, irreversible consequences. A lesson etched in tragedy, promising, or at least hoping, for a safer future in the skies. Even with reforms and software updates, some ongoing scrutiny and questions linger. Could such a complex web of failures happen again? Are regulatory bodies truly independent enough? How do we balance competitive pressure and innovation with the absolute imperative of safety? The trust between pilots, airlines, manufacturers, and regulators is paramount. Rebuilding that trust requires not just technical fixes, but a fundamental shift in culture. The silent warnings embedded in the 737 MAX crashes serve as a permanent reminder of the vigilance required to ensure the safety of millions who take to the skies every day. The complex causal chain behind the Boeing 737 MAX crashes was not a single, isolated malfunction. It was a perfect, horrifying storm. A convergence of corporate ambition, an urgent response to market rivals, an imperfect regulatory system, a critical but undisclosed software system, and a single, faulty sensor operating without adequate redundancy. The true reason these planes fell from the sky lies in this intricate, interlocking web of decisions and circumstances. Each factor alone might have been manageable. Together, they created an environment where tragedy was not just possible, but, perhaps, inevitable. The story of the 737 MAX is a cautionary tale, echoing far beyond the aerospace industry. It's a reminder of the immense responsibility that comes with innovation, and the absolute necessity of rigorous oversight. As we look beyond the horizon to the future of aviation, the lessons from these tragedies must guide every design, every certification, every training manual. Because the promise of safe flight isn't just a technical achievement, it's a fundamental trust. A trust that, once broken, takes monumental effort to restore. We hope this deep dive has shed light on the darkness, and perhaps, prevented future shadows.